Obviously, we just finished our fourth practice. The way the NCAA rules come out this week, actually tomorrow, I've inserted a day off tomorrow, and then we'll come back, go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So excited today. Got another player out there, roster addition. Terrell Jennings was able to add in there today. Another portal corner. It was really good to see him work. Worked himself right in and looked pretty comfortable. So excited. That kind of will. At the moment, obviously with the injury situations, if a guy literally looks like he's going to be out for an extended period of time, we replace him. But fortunately, we haven't had that situation pop up. So we should be pretty set on our roster as we know it right now. Tomorrow we'll install now. We've been in the red area these first 4 days. Now we'll work out in the ends in the normal field area. We put in 2 phases of the kicking game and practice that. So really excited to get a little bit of a day off, recover, and then jump into Thursday practice, and should be ready to roll. So that's about it.
Just logistically, you said a couple guys had the flu. Is that?
Yeah, Josh had missed yesterday, but he was out there today. We were supposed to practice this morning, and I was just sitting there, and we were going to go on the grass. Our grass field, a couple guys called Augusta. It just looks unbelievable, and I didn't want. What it allows us to do is practice on grass a lot more, which saves our legs, saves the wear and tear. But I saw the clouds rolling in. I checked my radar, and anytime there's a lightning strike within 8 miles, we can't practice for a half hour. So I didn't want to get out there, get rolling, negate it. So I knew there were clear skies this afternoon, so we pushed back till this afternoon's practice. That worked really, really well. That also got Josh out there, and also allowed Terrell to get cleared because his paper was coming through. So there was a nice little blessing in disguise.
Is there a moment so far, Bret, that you've seen Art just kind of rip it? In a way that he wasn't able to last year?
I would say overall, yeah, from Skelly's to even just Indies to, he had a nice pass in there again today. I definitely think he feels, I'm sure he probably said it, right? Like he definitely, without a doubt, and this was kind of a big day for him to get through the 4 straight days of throwing. So I'm excited. I feel good for him. I know the kids like him having him out there. And Tommy, I thought, had an exceptional good day today as well. So even Donovan Leary came in there, did some nice things today, which was nice.
Coach, when it comes to you with quarterbacks over the course of your career, has that kind of changed how you deal with it, year to year? Are you different now than when you first started?
I'm sure not just quarterbacks, to be honest, but I've evolved with all positions. One thing I always say to quarterbacks when I'm recruiting them, when they sign, before they get here, after they're here, I have individual meetings with those guys. A lot of times we'll talk about how we want to play the game. I always tell quarterbacks, I tell their parents especially, right? Like quarterbacks and head coaches are a lot alike, right? You probably get way too much credit when things go well, and you get way too much blame when they don't go well. But as a head coach, that's what I sign up for, right? That's why I get paid what I do. But as a quarterback, that's not fair to them, right? Unlike any other position. So if I can ever do anything to pull the pressure off the quarterback, I'm sure you guys saw last year, even with kind of not musical chairs, but between 2 guys, there was a lot of in and out, and I was very supportive and conscientious of that and everything I said and did. And I just think if the quarterback ever feels that he loses his head coach, he doesn't have a chance, right? And I haven't been put in that position very often in my career, but I really like our quarterback room. Even a guy like Kirk Lamichau just came in today and did a nice little Devo period at the end. Was very impressive. It's easy to see Barry knows what he's doing, and the guys really respect what he says.
Have you had years where you were surprised by somebody, maybe a quarterback, doing maybe more than you thought? Has that ever happened where you?
Oh yeah, okay. yeah. I think back my first year, I signed a young man, Scott Tolzien, who was the last scholarship I ever gave in that recruiting class, and he took us to 10-win seasons in our first Big Ten championship, and I think he came in, was sitting maybe 3rd or 4th, earned a starting role, took us to a 10-win season, and was very diligent in the way he approached the game. Russell Wilson, I'm sure, just because I hadn't been around him. Brandon Allen was another guy when I was at Arkansas that, he's still playing in the league. You just see the nuances that they have, and really a quarterback, you really don't get to know him until you see when the bullets are flying against him, right? It's one thing to be a guy when things are going well, but when things are against him, that's when you learn.
Coach, it seems like talking with Coach Illini earlier this week that the vibe I got was the more he sees these kids and gets to know the personalities he's got, the more confidence he has in the offense. Is that a good read of it?
Yeah, I think anybody that's a play caller, right, they get to know not only the Q, which is, Barry coaches them, but the supporting cast around him. A guy like Hank Beatty had a great day today, kind of flashed and made a couple plays in the red area. I think it's important for us to not lose sight that Art missed an entire spring, right? So he's literally in practice 4 since Penn State week. Not only did he not, go through spring ball, he missed, the Iowa preparation, he missed the Northwestern preparation, Minnesota, right? Like he missed 3 or 4 games down the back end, didn't go through spring ball. So Art's going through some things just naturally that have to be going through.
What do those two each bring differently? I mean, they're both kind of big personalities.
Yeah.
But what do they bring differently?
It's a great question. I think what you guys see is what we see, right? To be honest, like they are who they are in front of you, kind of like they are in front of the team. I read it all the time, right? I read kids give comparative nature. When you guys try to ask them about one guy, they really reflect back to the other guy and vice versa, which I don't think is anything but them being real, right? I think they both have a lot of respect. They both know they're different. I think Isaiah, when Tommy was first around him and he was throwing and we weren't in spring drills, I remember I bumped into Isaiah and I said, "What do you think of Tommy?" He said he's a lot like Art, but without the coach's voice, right? And it's just, I kind of laughed because I knew that's kind of the way I see it as well, right? So they're both uniquely different. Both of them handle things different. Tommy, I kind of got to grab him and say, "Hey, this is what I'm saying." He's like, "Yeah, but like, no, you got me, right?" Where Art looks at me, locks it in. So everybody's their own person. It's kind of like handling children, right? Like I got 2 daughters. One's completely different than the other, raised by the same people, same DNA, but just different people.
What are the mechanics of picking a starter? Like in terms of, is it your call? Is it coach's call? I mean,
Yeah.
How's that come down? Is it, obviously it goes to you, but
yeah, great question. No, I appreciate it. I think 2 things. The quarterback, it's not just necessarily who's the best passer, who's the best, at this. I think it's the guy that manages the team and brings the best out of the 10 players on the field with him. I really do. I think quarterback is a unique position because he speaks, he makes decisions, he handles adjustments. He's really the voice to the play caller. I think when you have a really good center like Doug Kramer last year, who gave a lot of out-of-line communication, that's still a little bit different because he's reacting off what it's called. He doesn't make actual calls. Whereas today, quarterbacks, if they see a look that doesn't work well with a play we have called, they can change it, right? And I think for me, I really look for the confidence that the play caller has in him. And then I think the other big thing is how do the players react to them, right? I know in my career I've had situations where I thought a guy was the guy, but there just wasn't great mojo between the guy and the players, and that usually never works.
How did you see Art approach fall camp last year that allowed him in the first quarter of the opener to have the success that he did?
It's a really good point. I think Art is who he is every day, right? Like whether he's taking first string reps, he's going to stand behind a quarterback. If he's in there, obviously he's doing it, but if he's not, he's going to stand behind a quarterback. He's going to see the vision of the play. He's going to live the play at its fullest without taking a rep. And I think that's what gave me the confidence when the transition happened right in the middle of the Nebraska game that he was going to be able to go out there and execute the plan.
Given that Art was the starter, named the starter Penn State week, and then was injured in that game, do you consider him the returning starter?
I think so. Like I've said it a couple times, right? Like, I mean, Tommy is the returning starter at Syracuse, right? I know he was removed there, but like it's hard to say that you're not the returning starter when he started games. I know he didn't start every one of them, but if he didn't get hurt in that Penn State game, we were able to pull that thing out. I don't know if BP would ever got back in there, right? And BP went on to have an incredible, finish. Really played it decent against all the remaining games, and then really played at a high level in that Northwestern game. I think the NFL teams, obviously, San Diego made the final decision, but I think a lot of teams picked up a lot of interest when they saw the way he closed the year off.
Can you tell us about Terrell Jennings and what he brings to the team for you?
Yeah, he's first off, he's got size, composure, athleticism. He's got high, I think, football IQ, kind of a junkie. He's coming here for a one-year wonder, right? We commonly knew some people that when his name came in the portal that led us in a direction to get him here. And then he showed a lot of faith, came and visited us, and kind of made the decision to come to us. And then at that time, the 85 rule wasn't in effect, right? So he was doing it with the understanding he wasn't going to get one till fall camp, which actually worked out well because he was still taking classes literally up until, I think, July 26th or 27th. That's why it was a little bit late for him to get cleared here today.
Art and Tommy have history, going back probably close to a decade.
Yeah.
It seems like a genuine connection. What difference does that make in the quarterback room where the two guys that are maybe battling each other seem to like each other?
Yeah, I think first, I know everybody's made jokes about it. I just don't recruit Jersey quarterbacks, right? But when I knew where we were going to go with Tommy, I brought Art in. I just believe in having difficult conversations, right? And Art was at a point where he was having major surgery, right? And I didn't want to leave the rest of our team hanging in the balance of a hopeful recovery with him. And I felt we needed a veteran quarterback, someone that could come in. And so I brought Art in, and I told him, hey, I've been talking to a guy named Tommy DeVito. I'm sure you know him. And he kind of rolled his smile in his eyes, and he's like, yeah, I know him, Coach. And I said, well, I'm going to make an offer to him. I just want you to know. And then, you know, this is where we're going. I'm going to go see him this weekend. He goes, I know who he is, and I know where it is. And really no thing other than that's what it is. He was very, again, Art is so real. And I'm not going to speak of what he experienced, right? But he'd always said to me, even going into that opening week in Nebraska, when I brought him in and told him I was going with BP, he goes, Coach, I appreciate you telling and being honest with me from jump, right? Like, that was something he really appreciated. And then when I, kind of on the flip side of it, when I had to tell BP I was staying with Art, right? Like, I told him news that he probably wanted to hear, right? So it's kind of going back and forth. And then really what I felt was genuine when I was in Tommy's house for the first time and told him, you know, that I told Art, you know, and Tommy's dad, I think, was the first one that said, oh, yeah, we've known Art for so-and-so number of years, and Tommy was great about it. And then the thing that I really came full circle on is this summer I was in a conversation with Barry without Art or Tommy in the room, and Barry was talking about how close those two had become. And then literally the next day I had a meeting with Tank, and he talked about how those two guys were kind of like field general 1 and 2, just taking control of, you know, all the workouts, all the player-led practices, and doing all the things together in their voice, their confidence. And that's when I thought we probably had something.
How often do you and Coach Illini talk about quarterback? Is it constant? Is it 5 minutes a day? I mean, how often does it happen?
Kind of probably just depends on the day. Okay. You know, yeah, like I got a lot of things going on today. Like there was a fire in the morning, not a literal fire, but a little player fire I had to deal with. And we knew Terrell was getting close, and then I went from changing the practice fields from the grass fields to the stadium, and then in a matter of an hour I took us from practicing the stadium to practicing in the afternoon, and he had to notify all the department heads. But Barry and I I'll usually swing by his office, or he'll pop into mine, and we'll just, you know, share a 10-15 minute conversation. I had a coordinator meeting today with all three of us present, with Sean, Ryan, and Barry. I walked out and grabbed Barry after practice today. There were some guys that did some good things in the QB room, but also at other positions. And Barry and I talk a lot more than just quarterbacks, right? Like, we talk a lot about, you know, who our number 2 center is, who, you know, what tight end looks good, you know, all kinds of things.
Casey talked about, he mentioned his hair color was different when you first met him, but he talked about his own personal growth.
Casey Washington?
Yeah, over the last year. What have you seen from him from a growth?
You know, so Casey and I have a unique story, right? So I tried to recruit him when I first got here, because he told me he was, you know, in the portal currently, and I spent a long time on the phone with him and his mom and dad. So I really, you know, had a bad taste in my mouth, right? Because he turned us down, or, like, in my opinion, didn't give us a chance to show, which is fine, right? I had to do it great. But I liked the way he carried himself in our conversation. And then when he wanted to come back, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna let this one sit a little bit, right? And he kind of worked through the guys here. I think the good thing that was working for us, that I had a feeling was happening, was our guys here were telling Casey what we were all about, right? So he wasn't living in himself, but I think he was hearing good things about the way we handle things, the way we go about things, and then he saw it firsthand when I kind of took a risk, because I basically gave him a scholarship without knowing him being eligible. So I took him with the understanding, and I made him and his parents know, I'm taking you with the idea that I may not be able to use you this year. And I think that leap of faith gave a lot of faith to him. And then he and I probably have a very unique relationship more than anybody else. I really like to bust him up a little bit, just because I appreciate, like, he got in a little scuffle yesterday, him and Taylon Letsey, and I kind of made that point this morning to the entire team. Every day when I drive into work, I like to grab a cup of coffee, and for 10 minutes I think about what's going to happen today that I have no idea is going to happen. And yesterday it was Taylon Letsey and Casey Washington get in a fight, right, and cause this little uproar. And I literally said to this group this morning at 7:45 a.m., if you would have told me Taylon Letsey and Casey Washington were getting a fight, like, it's not the Vegas line I would have given, you know. But in a way, it's not surprising either. And we handled that moment. It was a light moment for 5 minutes. It was a very secret, you know. We have a rule, right? When you are in those moments, when the shit starts to happen, we have 3 rules, right? Like, protect your teammate, don't punch, don't swing, punch, or swipe. And then the third thing is never touch an official. And we've gone through that every year I've been here, but they were the catalyst for this fall camp, and it was a great learning moment.